Right guys, welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since I've done a normal video. Obviously we've still been uploading the podcast, so I hope that's been enough for you. So today is Friday. It is the 28th of October. It's also 3:44 is the time. So today is a quad session. Pete's literally just said, like, is it Friday always this leg day? Because recently I changed it. Spoke about it before, changing the split after my diet, after my holiday. So Friday is now quads, adductors and calves. And then Saturday, so tomorrow, is basically posterior, so back, hams, glutes. And basically that change in split is because, like I've said before, I need to focus more on my lower body. My lower body is weak in comparison to my upper, especially in comparison to like my chest, my delts, my arms. So yeah, legs need a little bit more focus. So that's why that split change has been made. I've been running this now for 3-4 weeks. It's been going pretty well. Still got the issue with my left hip. So Pete filmed a little bit of what I was doing before. So I was doing my stretches. So basically Aaron, who's like the physio that me and Reese go to, has prescribed me these different stretches to do. We think it's like a nerve issue. I don't know what it is. It's getting better, so I can't complain. I'm doing the stretches. I do them every training day before I start training. It takes me 5 minutes. I'll get in, I'll do the treadmill for 10 minutes just to get some steps in, get warm, and then I'll do my stretches. But yeah, I think part of it is like some sciatic issues, potentially the femoral nerve, he thinks it is. So the first stretch that you see me doing is like a hip flexor stretch, and then I'm leaning across just because I can really feel that stretch through there, and it does feel like it's sort of easing it a little bit. So it's actually like quite a nice sensation. It feels like, oh yeah, it actually feels a bit better after doing it. I always feel good going into the session once I've done them. And then the second stretch is supposedly this femoral nerve stretch, which I can't really feel it. It feels like it's stretching my quad. It feels like it's stretching my hip flexor again. I'm putting like my head back to stretch that femoral nerve more. And hopefully it's working. Like I say, training wise, it's manageable. I'm working around it relatively well. Is that because of the stretches? Is it because of the training changes? It's difficult to say, because like I reintroduced a hinge last week, saw how that went, it was okay. Reintroduced a squat pattern last week when I was at Graftism. I did the Atlantis pendulum, that was okay. But I've just kind of got to see how it is week by week, and fingers crossed it'll just keep getting better, because it is definitely, its low is better than it was even just a few weeks back. So just keep working around it as it is. But yeah, so basically today, like I say, quads, adductors, calves. First exercise, seated calf raise. So the reason that I put this first is because my calves are a lagging body part, so I'm going into them fresh. The reason that I'm doing the seated first is because we can get the calf a little bit shorter. It's going to prioritise the soleus, so we've got the two main muscles in the calf. We've got the soleus and the gastrocnemius. So later on in the session, I'll do the standing calf raise, which is a little bit more gastrocnemius focused, because that actually crosses the knee. So when the knee's extended, that'll basically prioritise that part a little bit more. So guys, just waiting for the leg extension. I thought I would quickly discuss the diet, because I feel like the last video, I think I was still dieting, or was I maybe at the end of the diet? I can't really remember. Obviously, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm sure Pete will put my Instagram on the screen. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see everything that's going on. But basically, I finished the diet, or I came back from holiday and I pretty much finished the diet, about 190 pounds. And then since then, I've just been adding more and more food in. Body weight's still gone down a little bit naturally, in terms of I didn't just jump straight back into a surplus. Main reason being, like, to be fair, you know, I'd have been happy to jump back into a surplus, but I've added quite a lot of food in and I've still been in a deficit, because NEAT's gone up, my performance has gone up quite a lot, especially with the fact that my hip's getting better. My training demands have gone up a lot, so therefore I require more food. So food just keeps going up every few days, so I can't complain. My rest day food is still relatively low, but nowhere near as low as it was. And my training day food is quite high now. And then I have today, so Fridays and Tuesdays are my high days. So basically I have more food on those days, simply because they're lower body sessions, more demanding, and then I have push days the following day. So basically, sorry mate. Sorry mate. All right, you're right. Where was I? So basically, I have high days on a Friday today and on a Tuesday. So they're my most demanding sessions. Realistically, it's a leg day, and then I have obviously my other lower day on a Tuesday. But then also the benefit from that is that the day afterwards is also a weaker body part day for me. So basically a Wednesday is a pull day or back day. My back is again weaker than my push musculature. So I'm a bit fuller, I've got more energy stored going into that back day. And then likewise today, weaker body part day, so more food. And then likewise tomorrow, again, posterior, slightly weaker than my anterior. So again, a bit fuller for the session. So something that I quite like doing myself and obviously with clients is if you are coming out of a diet and if you can try and have those high days, I quite like to implement those high days, place them on days where you're weaker, like weaker body part days, or place them the day before, because the fuel is still going to be there the following day. It's not as if I have higher food today and it's just gone. Like I'm having quite a large post-workout meal, that therefore means that I'm fuller, I look better in the morning, and also it means that it carries over into the fact that generally there's extra energy stores there ready for the next session. And again, if you've got a weaker body part on that day, you need to be fueling that session as much as you can. That's also something you could implement in a diet, or especially in a contest prep, if you're going to have refeeds, potentially having diet breaks, etc. Like a refeed makes more sense. You could place it on the days close to or prior to your weaker body parts. So I'm using these. So these are called yoga bricks or foam blocks. You can get them pretty cheap. Again, I posted about this on Instagram, but I'm using it between my shin and then the input pad that goes on the shin. Basically what it's going to do is going to increase the range of motion slightly in the length and range. So I've got, 2-3 inches extra range of motion, which makes quite a big difference on this because it stops there. So ultimately I'm not really getting into that much knee flexion, whereas when I've got this on there, it pushes me into this position. So it makes quite a difference in that length and range. Ultimately, for me, that means I can use a little bit less load, which means I can put less stress through my knee joint, and it actually just feels better through the quad. And then on top of that, to even further try and increase the range, I'm going to lean back in the seat like this. So I'm in less hip flexion than if I was sitting forward like this. So already, if I'm doing that, I'm already shortening my quad from the hip. So I'm laying back with it as well. There's little things that can make it feel a little bit better and make it a little bit more challenging with less weight. Just repping everywhere I go, mate. Ow. Feels very good. So I have 4 sets on this. I don't really do 4 sets on anything, but again, that's just because at the minute with my hip, like my ability to load my quads heavily on compound movements is not really there at the minute. So that doesn't mean that I can't grow my quads or I can't train my quads. It just means get a little bit more out of the isolation work, probably get a little bit less out of the compound work, although it is feeling better at the minute. So 4 sets on this, and it has been feeling really good, to be fair, doing a little bit more volume on it. It's just painful, that's all, it's just painful. So with the fact that I have 4 sets, I'll generally, on the first 3, I won't take any partials. But then on the last set, as you'll see when we get there, I'll take a few partials. So when I can't get it fully short anymore, I'll get a few reps getting it as high as I can, and then the set's done. But if I do that on the first set, I'm not trashing my quads, but they're going to be a lot more fatigued going into the subsequent sets. So one thing as well that I'll see, this isn't just on leg extension, this is on anything. As soon as the set gets hard, people just panic. So like then, from rep 7, 8 onwards, like my quads are burning a lot and everything's telling me to stop, but you just got to compose yourself, stay calm, breathe. Like if you watch that set, even the last couple of reps, like my eccentrics are really slow, even more controlled than the first few reps, because I'm stronger on the eccentric, so I have the ability to resist it more, and I can get more air in if I take my time on the eccentric. So it's really slow, I'm calming myself down, I'm breathing, slight pause at the bottom, and then I'm ready to go again. Last thing you want to do is, as soon as it burns, be like, oh my God, what the fuck? Panic and end the set, or don't even get to that point, because as soon as you feel anything, you're just like, oh, stop. And often that's what people do and wonder why they're not maybe making the progress that they would expect to. They might be nailing everything else, but their pain threshold or their composure when a set gets hard is not the best. So that's something to work on for a lot of people, especially like, you know, when I get new clients in, it's quite a common occurrence that as soon as it gets really difficult, everything speeds up. If anything, you want everything to slow down, calm yourself down, stay composed. Not getting any numbers on this.
See it? You're good. Come on.
3,
Yes.
2,
Yep.
1.
Yes.
Yep.
Go on up. Come on, mate. Yeah, lovely. Yeah, lovely. Powerful. Come on. Yes, good. Good, easy, easy. Come on. Right. Yes, good. Good, easy, mate. Easy. Come on. Loads more, loads more. Come on, 4 reps. Easy 5, easy 5. Yeah, good, good, good. Come on. Powerful. There we go. Come on. There we go, there we go. Good brace, good brace. Right. Yes, good. Good. Moving well, moving well. Come on. Confidence. There we go. Come on, let's see it. Drive. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Alright.
I don't think I should do it. So, didn't really get on with the pendulum. Didn't really feel like I got much out of my quads, and my hip just flared up. So I don't feel it so much in the set. It's when I rack the weight and then I put weight on that left leg, it's like straight away, it's just a shooting pain like in my hip, top of my glute. And I've not had that for a little while, so I'm not going to do another set for the sake of it. I'll jump onto this. I know that I get on with this, so it's all good. Oh! Oh! Obviously, again, like I say, I'm not putting a lot of load on the machine. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm not putting a lot of load through the quads. So in terms of range of motion, torque at the knee, challenge to the quad, I'm getting a lot more out of it, even using less load than I might have done in the past. In terms of ways that I can get more out of the leg press, so obviously we can manipulate the back pad. So this obviously moves up and down. The more upright you have it, the more hip flexion you're in. Therefore, you can't really lengthen the quad quite as much. Potentially going to become a more hip dominant movement. Maybe going to get a bit more glute out of it, maybe a bit more adductor out of it. Further down you have it, the less hip flexion you're in, the more you can lengthen the quad, the more range of motion you can usually get. Now I find that having it here or here is a little bit too low for me, so I go there. That feels the most comfortable. Move the safety pins out the way, all the way down, because I know that I can get to range without needing those there. And then I use this as well, because without that, basically I tap at the bottom, so it sort of reduces my range. So with that, it's pushing me forward by a few inches, similar to what I did on the leg extension. That means I can get that little bit more range of motion, and that's only 6 plates. I imagine in the past, I've not used this machine a lot before, but I would have put 20s all over that and been like, oh yeah, mint, I can do 15 plates, whatever. But it's not just what's on the machine. Again, people look at what have you got on the bar or on the machine and go, oh wow, you're putting that amount of load through that area, but it's how you perform it as to how much of that load is actually going to be, if you like, accurately going through and stimulating that muscle. Oh. Ah! 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 Oh! Oh. So I'll leave that at 2 sets because they felt very good, and in terms of why I'm pausing, and also why I'm taking quite a wide stance. Again, if my hip was fine, I wouldn't do that, but this feels better. I don't really get any hip pain with a wider stance, and quite a lot of abduction, so I'm really driving my knees out. You could argue that's going to mean that I'm getting a bit more adductor out of it, but this session does have adductors in. I'm actually going on to do those now. So I'll pause it in the bottom, again, to limit the load. So I'm making it more challenging for myself. Like you will have saw, or you might have seen it, in Reese's video, the one that'll have come out before this. We did a double banded hammer strength leg press. Again, making it more challenging. Obviously in that instance, it's making it more challenging in the shortened range, but again, it means less total load going through the joints, making it a bit more challenging where it's a bit easier because the knee is approaching extension. So the moment arm is shorter, so it gets easier towards the top. With this, again, in terms of how I'm making it harder, because I do that on the other day, I'm pausing this in that lengthened range, especially because I have the leg extension prior as well. And then also, because I get people calling me out on this all the time.
Stop it.
Locking your knees out on a leg press is okay. If you're prone to hyperextending your joints, which you'll probably know from if you're a child, as you grow up, you'll probably realise that you do that, then I wouldn't recommend locking your knees out. But for probably 95 to 99% of people who aren't prone to hyperextending your joints, locking your knees out is absolutely fine. There's no moment arm going through the knee in this direction. So the reason that you see those freak accidents on social media where people's knees hyperextend and it makes you like, oh, it's horrible, is because they're using way too much weight. You never see a video of that with 5 plates on. They're doing way too much weight and they're usually doing this. In which case, if you're pushing against your legs, you're creating that moment arm now going in that direction. So you're pushing against your knees, so you're asking for it. So stop calling me out for locking my knees out. I get it on every single post, Pete.
Who are you?
So, got 3 sets on adductors. Obviously, like I say, they're going to be indirectly trained here on the leg press, especially through their lengthened range. This is obviously a direct, if you like, it's an adductor isolation. Not if you like, it is an adductor isolation. So, 3 sets on this. Oh. 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 Quite a heavy adductor, to be fair. Impulse, that is the brand. So, first set, 2 count in both ends, just to keep it nice and safe, especially as it's the heavier set that I'll do. I don't want to be changing direction really quickly, especially in the lengthened range. Second set, more of like a 1 second pause. Third set, more continuous. Again, you could argue as the sets go on, my ability to get that muscle short is going to diminish, but also, like I say, more so from a safety standpoint, when the adductors aren't that warm yet, I like to keep it more controlled in the end ranges to be safe. And then as the sets go on, the adductor a bit warmer, I can move a little bit quicker. And also, I like to work slightly higher rep range, so I'll bring the weight down as I work obviously the reps up as the sets go on. So I use this as well. Seem to be manipulating everything that I do today. I use that just in between there basically. All it does is just forces me forward a little bit more, and then my knees just about past this pad. So I find that if my knees are directly against the pad, it just feels uncomfortable. So I want to be driving in sort of from here rather than from like directly on my MCL. But yeah, like obviously I've done that, use the pads, the foam blocks on the leg extension, use the foam block on the leg press, but you've got to make the machine suit you, and all of those modifications have made it feel better and have improved it in some way. So don't be afraid to do something like that, add something onto a machine just to make it feel that bit better and get a bit more out of it. Oh. So like I said earlier, seated calf raise earlier on, you can get the calf a bit shorter, more soleus focused. Standing calf raise later on, more gastric focused. But don't take my advice because my calves are shit. So with calves as well, what I'll do, pause at both ends of the rep just to make sure that I'm actually connecting well, or at least trying to connect well. What you'll see people do is bounce out the bottom, sort of rely on that stretch reflex of the Achilles, which is obviously quite a strong tendon. So yeah, with those pauses, you can generally feel like you're getting a lot more out of the calf rather than just bouncing around. And then I also just add a stretch right at the end just for a little bit more of a challenge. Some half decent research out there in regards to lengthening training or pausing in that stretch, especially for calves, for quads as well, to be fair. So yeah, I just add that in right at the end just to, again, try and challenge them a little bit more. Nothing there, mate. Too inflamed, that's what it is. Not that I've not got any quads. Oh. So I do vacuums just in between each set on abs. Something I started doing recently. Obviously, I practice vacuums like when I'm posing and throughout prep anyway, but I don't think it's a bad idea to actually train your TVA actively while training, like you would any other movement or any other body part, I should say. Just because we can't see it, because it lies under the actual abs, the visible abs, the rectus abdominis that we're training here, doesn't mean that we shouldn't train it. So that's why I'm doing that. And like I said before, doing abs every day now, or every training session, every training day, so 5 days a week. So doing vacuums every 5 days or 5 days a week as well. So when it does come around to prep and posing and vacuuming, I'll be a lot better, and I won't have to sort of regain that posing fitness or that vacuum ability, if you like. Right guys, so that wraps up the quad adductors and calves session. Bit of a mouthful that, I could just call it quads. So yeah, that's my Friday session at the time being. It's going well, obviously, like I say, just working around the hip, but I feel like I'm still getting a decent amount out of my quads, which is the primary goal, and I'm prioritising my calves a little bit more, which is definitely needed. So yeah, I did a little bit of posing there. I don't know how it'll look. To be fair, I don't really. Pete can put it in the video anyway. I'm just being so real, even if I look like shit, I'm just being real. But yeah, in terms of where I'm at right now, weighing in at, I was 188 pounds this morning. So again, you know, body weight is working its way back up. My lowest weight was like 186, so it is working its way back up. But again, I'm just adding food every few days. So yeah, I need to be gaining weight now. I don't need to be wasting time, but I also don't want to be gaining really quickly. I don't want to be starting prep any heavier than 200 pounds, and I've still got a good 24 weeks, I think it is, close to that, until I'll be looking at beginning prep anyway, sort of start of April next year. But I'll obviously be in a decent-ish position. I won't have that much fat to pull off, still have a decent amount. But yeah, I don't think there's much else that I need to cover, but I hope you all enjoyed it. If anybody has any questions, please ask. Please like and subscribe, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. Share on your stories if you're watching, I'd appreciate that. Same with the podcast, appreciate everybody that's watching the podcast. If you could, again, follow us on Spotify and rate the podcast. You don't have to give us 5-star, but I would. If you're a nice person, you'll give us 5 stars. And yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.